Live from the legendary podcast bus in sunny California, it's America's funniest new podcast.
Oh my God, what are you doing?
We think it's funny. And now, here are your hosts, Mark Schiff and Daniel LaBelle.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of We Think It's Funny. I am Daniel LaBelle, and I'm joined by my fantastic friend, comedian Mark Schiff. How you doing, Mark?
Good. You're not just joined. I'm here all the time.
Okay.
Okay? Don't with the join.
Conjoined.
This isn't my last episode. You were joined by Jake Johannsen. He's
Okay.
joined.
I'm joining you.
He's joining us.
So there's a difference between, you know what I'm saying?
But I'm actually wedged between you. Like, I can't get out unless one of you moves.
Right.
I mean, I could, but it would be awkward.
So, I wrote something about this morning. A friend of mine passed on, Hiram Caston. You remember Hiram?
I think I've met Hiram in the past.
He did a lot of stand-up, but he did mostly TVs, and I went to Chat GPT. I got to write a speech. So anyway, I didn't go for the speech, but I put in the thing, and it says, "We gather here." And I wrote, Jews don't gather. They like to, branch out, and they move around a lot. They don't.
Wait a minute. Before we do this.
Yeah.
You're telling me you used ChatGPT to write your friend's eulogy?
So let me tell you why I did
I was thinking that same thing.
I know you were. So let me tell you why.
I mean, this is a person who you really care about.
I love the guy deeply, but the reason I used it
But you don't have a lot of time.
is because I knew I could mock it. I knew they were going to say everything that's not true and very generic about him. So when they would write, Hiram was a good friend to all. No, he wasn't. They have no idea that what this guy was about. So that's what I did. I kind of rewrote it in a way like it's an anti-AI thing.
How'd it go over?
It didn't yet. We're doing it on the 18th of August.
Oh, I can't wait to hear about this.
Let me throw this out
will I
to
be
you.
able to hear about it?
Yes, you can come to it, the memorial.
Was it
Well,
on
I
Zoom?
don't think I know him well enough to
Is
be.
it a Zoom thing?
It will probably be something, but you're welcome to come. But let me tell you, what should I do? Now, I need to get on stage. I haven't been on stage in a couple of weeks, and I got some gigs coming up. So I got a deal. I can work with Leno on the 18th at 7 p.m.,
Okay.
but the memorial is 4:30. So if the memorial goes to later than 5:45, I got to walk out. Do I cancel the Leno? Because he's a good friend and it's a memorial?
You tell him, you've been doing this long enough. You just tell him you got to go on early because you got another show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Treat it like a gig.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, I got to get up early.
Yeah, you tell
Or you
him.
could
look-
just have ChatGPT read the speech for
I
you.
heard.
Yeah, why are you asking us? You could ask ChatGPT what to do in this situation.
So should I open or go on second?
Second. Yeah, never. You don't want to go
No, you
on
don't wanna
first.
open.
You don't want
You
to
don't
go
think
on
it's a
first.
little rude to say, at your friend's memorial, look, I got to get out early, I've got something else.
I got something more important.
I couldn't put aside one night for him dying.
Well, I tried to blame it on Hiram. I said, he would want me to take the gig.
Right.
So I tried to lay it on him.
He would want. They're dead and they have no say anymore. He would want this. He would want.
Oh, I
he
love
would want me
people
to
that
have all
say
his
he
money.
would-
Right, but when you're at a memorial, it's fair to say this is for us, the people who are here. This isn't for
Right.
Hiram. I mean, we're remembering him and honoring him, but that's for us to do.
Right.
And we also, because we're alive, we have other things that we do. Let's not kid ourselves.
Wow, that's
this
cold.
isn't.
That's cold.
This isn't
because
just
we're
it.
alive. To bring up to
You
the
hate
wife
to
and
rub it
child.
in. You hate to rub it in.
He's right though.
I say to his wife, because I'm alive, I have things to do. I don't. That's rough.
But Jake is right. I mean, it's not
Well, he's
really
right.
what he
Is
would
the guy
want.
Are they going to be comedians? You were inviting me, and now it's there's wives and kids there. Yeah, I know it's tricky. Okay, well you can either say you've got another thing to do, or as you say, you could cancel. It just depends on.
Because if you say the wrong thing, they turn into like a Friday night second show group.
Do you think you could possibly move the memorial to the Leno gig?
Wow.
That might be good because then you could just say, "Hey, hang on a
Think of
second,
that.
I got to jump on stage and then come back to the memorial."
How about the people at memorials that always say, I know he's here with us now? There's always that group of people
Is there? Yeah.
that can feel his presence in the room, right? What do you think? You think it's...
You think he's there, or am I
No.
judging the people, or do I?
No, I don't think he's there. Do you think he's there? I like to think either you're dead and you're finished, you're out, it's over, goodbye, or
goodbye.
you got better things to do than hang around. I mean, I suppose maybe. Do you want to go to your funeral? What Best case scenario, everybody says really nice things, which is what you hope happens. Worst case scenario, somebody says some stuff that you're not crazy about, and you've got nothing. There's nothing you can do about it. I'd say you hit the whatever they kind of got craft
Hit the
service in the
cosmos?
afterlife.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get out there to the afterlife.
Well, you'd want to probably know it's the last time people are going to be talking about you for probably ever, as a group. I don't know. You might want to attend that. I would. I would
that'd
be
be
there.
interesting.
I'd be there. I'd just be like, I wonder how I went over.
Well, I like that. I like that version of once you turn let's say, I mean, you don't want to wait too late, but at some point, your birthday party just has to also start off with whoever wants to do a little eulogy for you too, because you're not going to get to see that. I like that idea. Or you hold a party for yourself when you get to a certain age.
I've heard about it. I went to one the other day for a guy, my friend George Stanley, 98 years old. Mm-hmm. And he demanded that it wasn't a eulogy party. It was a roast. So we roasted the guy pretty good.
Yeah.
I had one, I say he was so constipated that his wife was told to use a toilet plunger on him to help. That was a good roast joke. Obviously not. But...
Yeah, I just got confused. The gear change really was
Yeah,
too much.
it
I'm
was
sorry.
hard for me.
I didn't need
Because
to go
first
to-
I felt bad for your friend
Hiram,
Hiram's wife and kids, and then now this poor guy
I
Jordan,
got-
98, he can't.
98,
he has
yeah.
trouble pooping.
It's
You'll see.
at the very beginning.
You'll see. Yeah,
At the
spoiler
beginning of
alert.
life, when you have like a circumcision or something, and the end when you have a funeral. Kind of the same crowd of people. They're not really people that know you. They got dragged out there by people who know people who know your family. But it's the same kind of crowd, don't you think, more or less? Depending on how old you get. It's not...
No, I think it's your funeral, it's people who knew you. I don't think people... Nobody's
Yeah,
nobody's
it
like,
was
hey,
a
can I
funeral.
come
Like,
with
if
you?
you're
I thought it was weird when you just invited me to this funeral a minute ago.
If
when you
you're
said-
100 years old, most of the people that knew you were gone,
Yeah.
I think.
My dad passed away last December, and he was 89. He would have been 90 this April, and we didn't even have one because
His friends are gone.
Well, or they're too far away. They're not going to get on a plane and go somewhere when you're almost 90 years old. Nobody's flying in for that.
Right.
Anyway,
Or you get people like, dragged in by the family members. So like, I didn't really know him, but, my dad was friends with him or whatever,
Yeah, we didn't.
You remember the great movie Harold and Maude?
Yes.
Now, those were people that went to funerals of people they didn't know. Mm-hmm. Remember
Yeah, that was a great
Harold and
film.
Maude met at the funeral.
Yeah.
Cat Stevens before
Right.
he became...
They just played the same Cat Stevens song I guess they only had the rights to one song.
One
They
song
played
they
that
played.
song like 50 times. throughout
Miles
the
to
movie.
Nowhere.
You're gonna be me.
Oh, they played that one too.
Yeah.
I think they played Miles to Nowhere too. I think. Maybe not. But yeah, nobody drives by a funeral home and goes, I'm in a park. I want to go in, see what's going on.
I've thought about going to the cemetery just because I feel like sometimes when you're feeling depressed, so you go to the cemetery. It's like, well, at least I'm not here.
Yeah, but then you are there.
I can leave. Well, but I can leave. Unlike all these other people, I'm out of here.
Right.
I'm
So
going
I-
somewhere.
Mark goes to a lot of cemeteries.
Tremendous amount. You know Kathy Ladman?
Yes.
So I believe it was her. I was in Reno with her, and we didn't have anything to do with Reno. No. One afternoon, I said, you can go, people can get married in Reno, just like they just meet and they can go get married. No blood test, no nothing.
I understand.
So I said to Kathy, I know there's a wedding chapel and you can go and watch people get married. Why don't we go? So we went over. Mm-hmm. Two of the drunkest people I've ever seen. The guy was like a homeless guy. Just terrible. They go in and they're getting married. He can hardly stand up. And I think it costs like $40. And it was quite an experience to watch
Drunk people get married?
drunk people who just met like an hour earlier get married.
I crashed a black funeral at Kenneth Hahn Park last year.
You mean a satanic funeral?
No, just like the black community. There was
Okay.
a big
I
funeral.
thought it was a black
I
mass.
understand because that area.
I thought it was a...
No, it was like somebody who was a big community leader in the black community had
And you
died,
just went...
and they had a big funeral, and I went front row, which was a bold move, because
And what were you thinking? Why did you do this?
there was an opening in the front row. So I
But
was,
why'd you go
what
to
made
the
you
thing?
decide to go to the... Were you just driving by and you thought,
no,
man,
I
that
was
looks like a
I
fun...
was in a good place, mentally, physically, where I was going to the park every day to walk.
Uh-huh.
I wish I could get back there. Hopefully, I will.
To the
So,
park or to
to
the
the-
exercise?
To exercising every
Because
day.
the park you can get back to.
Yeah. But I was at that point a year ago. I was going out every day to the park and walking and just getting in some exercise.
Oh, and the funeral was there
It
at
was
the
in
park.
the park.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I saw there was an open seat, but it was right in the front. So I went for it. Because it was mid-funeral. It wasn't like the beginning. Everyone who was there. And I got some looks like,
It
who's
was
this guy?
mid-funeral?
But nobody, yeah, it was like
while it was going on, you just
Yeah.
walked to the front and sat out?
yeah.
And you're in your walk in the park outfit. They're in their funeral outfits.
There was a mix. There was a mix of different kind of characters there. Not everybody was.
Did you
Was
speak?
still funeral attire. No, but it was a fantastic funeral. It was great. I mean,
Good
whoever this
speeches?
guy was, he was great. You know, people loved him. Wonderful speeches. Even also, one guy who was like a wino went up there. Very entertaining. Very, very
Wow.
sad for him, but very entertaining to watch. And then, very like I felt.
Did you talk to people afterwards? Hang
No,
out a
I
little bit?
I got out right before it ended, so no one would talk to me.
Did you go for the lunch?
As soon as I felt it was winding down, no, I jetted out of there before
You
anyone.
didn't go for the lunch?
'Cause there was a few guys that were looking at me throughout the funeral, like I knew they were going to come up to me as soon as they had a
Gee,
chance.
I wonder why.
And like, who are you and why are you here? So I got out right when I felt like it was almost over, right before the credits rolled. So,
What wouldn't you ever go to if you passed by something and you had the opportunity to go in?
I don't know if I would have gone to this, but if I was the kind of person who was going to go, then I would have thought you would be the kind of person. This is what I thought, but it's been a long time since we've seen each other. But I thought you would be the kind of person who would stay for the end and then converse with people, say, "Oh, I was just walking by. I come here to exercise all the time. This must be important to
Yeah.
you."
I would if I didn't get the looks. I got some looks that were concerning looks. I got some.
Can you show me a look?
Pretty
Or you got
strong
the camera. Oh, really? Oh, that is
Side eye. They call that side
yeah,
eye.
the side eye. I got some pretty strong looks from some strong-looking people, and I thought, better not. Let me get out of here. But I was inspired. I don't know who the guy was, but first of all, it was heartbreaking because his mother spoke.
Yeah.
His mother was like 90-something, so she outlived him, and that broke my heart, and
Yeah.
she spoke, and I almost cried.
How long ago was this?
About a year ago. Mm-hmm. And then his sister spoke, and then just friends of his spoke, and it was a big gathering. A lot of people showed up for this guy, and I just was like, "Wow, look at this! I never knew this guy existed. I don't even know his name now,
Yeah.
So it's not a real personal loss, but he existed. He
Yeah.
affected so many people in
I
the
know.
world, and he did it all without ever being on my radar. And he's gone. And
Until the very end.
right until the
Then
very
it got
end.
on your radar.
So
Was there any kind of talk about why this was happening in this park?
Well, it's Baldwin Hills is a big affluent black community there, so and that's where the park is. So, it's a nice place to hold a service.
Yeah.
They have a lot of things at that park, usually birthday parties. But what I thought was, how significant we all kind of think we are throughout our life. And here's a guy who actually was pretty significant, affected a lot of people.
Yeah.
And yet, it's remarkable how we kind of don't exist to so many people and never will.
Yeah.
Well, even if you're famous,
Right.
it doesn't last that long after you're gone. I mean,
Right.
think about what it meant when you went on the Tonight Show,
Yes.
and now there's so many people who just don't understand. They don't know. First of all, they don't know who Johnny Carson was, and second of all, they forgot.
Yeah, no, I told her. By the way, I have a cemetery joke I got to tell because I was
Okay,
going
that's
to,
good.
but we were just talking.
Right.
So this guy's on his hands and knees at a grave. He's just crying and bitter, screaming, "Why did you die? Why did you have to die?" And somebody's walking by and they see him and he, "Why did you die?" So the guy comes over and goes, "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm all right." He goes, "You must have been very close to this person." I never met him in my life." "Really? So why are you so distraught?" "It was my wife's first husband."
I get it.
You got nothing from Jake on that one.
Well, I did. It took me a while to put it together, and then I didn't know. Then the logic of the joke kind of
Oh,
fell
you
apart
figured that
for me
joke
a little
out?
bit because It was her first husband who then he died and she became available. Not they got divorced. But if she was that big of a
Yes.
jerk, then maybe they got divorced. So it doesn't matter
Oh,
that
no,
he's
there's
dead or
none
not.
of that.
The logic of the
Interesting.
joke
It
kind of
really-
fell apart
really-
a little bit
Oh,
for me.
sorry.
Wow, he really dissected it.
Yeah, he really
out
did.
there. Yeah.
So the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
I did it, you did it, and he didn't.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't mean
Fair enough.
I didn't mean to hurt you with that. But you were too young.
Right.
That's why. You would have
Yeah.
done it.
It's a thing. It's a thing
Yeah.
that you could do as a comedian. It was a big thing.
If
It
you
was a
were
big thing.
really lucky.
It was almost like how many followers would you have to have on Instagram to be equivalent to being on the Tonight Show? Would you say?
30 million?
No,
More?
no, way less, way less. To be
Well,
able
that's-
to, you've been on the Tonight Show, so now you're known, so now you can headline comedy clubs, and maybe you can sell some tickets. I feel like Instagram. That's somewhere between 100, 200,000 followers on Instagram.
Oh, okay. I
Fan
understand what
followers
you're
who
saying.
love your
But
stand-up.
how many
and-
people watch the Tonight Show on a couple millions, right?
Millions, yeah.
Yeah.
But then not all those people were going out.
That's
some
true.
of them were having sex. Some of them were drunk or asleep.
Right.
Even by the time we were on
Farmers,
farm, could
people
have been
watching.
farmers. Yeah.
A lot of people watching. Wow. So what was your first experience with it? How'd you get the show?
I had moved to L.A. I'd already done Letterman a few times, and Jim McCauley was coming out to see me, and he thought I found this out because he had a conversation with my manager, who was known, managed Robin Williams and Billy Crystal, and so
What was his name?
Buddy Mora, now passed away. I
Mora
went to
Jaffe,
Bresner and Steinberg, Rollins,
Yeah.
Jaffe, Mora, Bresner,
Bresner Steinberg, yeah.
Oh.
Anyway,
Them all.
so Jim McCauley, who was who was the booker for the Tonight Show at the time, said to my manager that he thought Jake when he's doing his act, he kind of stammers a little bit, and Johnny might think he's nervous, and if Johnny thinks he's nervous, then that's bad.
Mm-hmm.
And my buddy said, well, that's his act. That's how he talks in his act. So he's not really nervous. It just seems like he's nervous, and that's the jokes come out of that, or the laughs come out of that. And it took Jim a while to really get convinced. He had to come and see me a few times. Then he had to see. I think he watched some of the Lettermans, and I don't know what happened, but then I got to go on the Tonight Show.
What did Bob Newhart say? That stammer got me a house in Beverly Hills.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. Ellen DeGeneres did stammer too, right?
A little bit.
You know, do you just do that for your act, or is it a...
Well, I think it's kind of a part of my personality, but more so than now.
Right.
And also it kind of, I think, grew out of being, you're on stage for the first time or the first few times, or, and you're just trying to just do your material, but be who yourself, not who you are, not get bogged down or try and pretend anything, just get it out, do your act.
So what was it like stepping out there? Remember the introduction? Remember him?
Yeah. They had like a stage guy behind. So you're behind the curtain.
He bleeds the curtain.
Yeah, and so
Macaulay's back there with you too.
I think he was back there, and so I'm standing right at where the curtain's going to come apart, and there's two guys that are going to pull the curtain apart, I think, and another guy who's got a hold of my jacket behind me.
So you
But
can't
I
run
think
out of there?
this is what it seemed, or he's going to tell me to go, or whatever. And the band is going crazy, so they set you up. The show's going on, and then they say, okay, well, they're going to commercial, so come and get in this spot. And so I'm in that spot, and the band's going crazy, and they're going to stop, and then Johnny's going to introduce me. They're going to open the curtain. I'm going to go out. My manager, this guy Buddy, is off to the side, and he goes, Jake, and I look over and I just go, what? I'm about to go on. He goes, don't fuck this up.
Oh no!
Yeah, funny. He thought it was funny. It was funny. Kind
Yeah.
of. And then Johnny said my name, and they opened. The guys pull the curtain out. The guy gives me a little boost or whatever they did. I mean, who knows if I'm remembering exactly right. And then you go out and do your act. And then at the end, Johnny gave me the okay signal, but I didn't get to go over and sit down.
Right.
I got to sit down another couple of times when I was on.
Well,
Not
did it
that
change
time.
your life being on the Tonight Show?
Well, who knows what changes your life? All these things add up to something. But it wasn't one of those ones. It wasn't like Drew Carey or Kevin Meaney, where it was
Roseanne.
just like one shot, one night, kapow.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So it was great, but it wasn't that kind of shot heard around the world kind of thing.
I haven't seen you in many years.
Yes, many years. A lot of things have happened.
What happened?
Well, I got
Fill me
married.
in.
I got married. I got a 20-year-old kid.
Wow.
That is a
Probably
while.
Probably
That is
did
a
a
while.
bunch
That is
of
a lot of things that
Lettermans
happened.
between now and then, and other things.
Maybe you didn't have a kid last time I saw you.
When
Maybe-
was
Has
it?
it been
Could have
20
been.
years?
Could have been. Well, it could be. I mean, maybe I did have a kid then. When I was how long ago? When
Could
you
have
were
been
in
20
college?
years. Yeah. Could have been 20 years ago.
Where was it?
Depending if you'd come at the beginning or the end of the show.
Well, it's confusing also,
Where?
right? Because I would go to New York. It's been
You did it a
Letterman's
few
been off
times,
the air
though.
for
You did
10
my-
years.
yeah.
So
I remember you did
it's
my
gotta
show
be
a
at least,
number of times.
It's got to be at least 15 years ago.
Yeah, at
Yes.
least 15
Do you remember
years.
doing
Yeah.
a show?
Yes, I do.
You're one of the few people that remembers me.
Because
We
we
go
had,
to
a,
this-
we had a guest recently
Oh, I think you even came to one of the shows that I was doing in town too.
I did,
or something.
yes.
Yeah.
who recently didn't remember. Oh, Bob Wall.
Everybody. Nobody's remembered me. We've had a lot of people. Dom Herrera didn't remember coming in. Bobby Collins didn't remember coming
That's right.
in.
Bob Wall, we
Robert
had
Wall didn't
no
remember that
idea.
I opened for him.
Maybe these guys have got other more bigger things that have
I don't
happened
know.
between then and now.
I
than
just
do.
had no
I
idea
could-
how forgettable I was. But
Oh, you're
but,
learning very
I mean,
quickly
it's
now.
a long time ago, and I was, why would it be that significant?
So
to
why do you
anybody?
remember everything?
Because to me, it's all very significant, But
Well, that's
yeah.
how memory works. Have you ever said to something, reminded something that somebody said to you, and then you have zero recollection, but it's stuck with them because it was a big.
Yeah, my wife an hour ago. I have no idea what she said something
Yeah.
to me. And it's completely gone.
yeah,
And
Well,
I will regret that when I get home and have to ask her, what was that?
right.
Yeah, I just pretend.
So you have a 20-year-old daughter now, huh?
Yeah.
What's that like?
Well,
He's got two girls, so I have boys. So you.
I have a
how-
4-year-old and a 2-year-old daughter.
4-year-old and a 2-year. Well, they get bigger, then they
Wow.
start to have opinions, and then
Oh, opinions.
the father-daughter relationship is pretty. I've only spectated the mother-daughter. Obviously, I don't have personal experience, but then I've anecdotally from my wife. It's not easy for
Right,
them.
for them.
For us, it's easier.
Yeah,
And then everything becomes. Right now, you probably.
it's already that way.
You're
now.
well, you're sort of involved, but then once they get to be whatever, I can't remember. I mean, not to be super creepy about it, but there's just a point where you're not around, nobody's giving anybody a bath anymore.
Right.
You're out on that.
Really?
And-
You stopped already?
Yeah, we
Oh.
had to wrap that up. And
Mark still bathes his 3 sons.
Yeah,
then-
33 years old.
and then your daughter doesn't tell you. Then there's secrets. There's secrets that you don't know that my wife knows that I don't know
Right.
about my daughter.
Yeah.
That then sometimes it'll come up to me, and I've been operating on this ridiculous idea, that she's still
She confides in you.
innocent and hasn't had a
Right.
boyfriend
Oh, yeah.
or whatever. But
Oh, God.
That's tough. That's going to be a
and
tough
you find out,
place.
and you find out they go away to college, and then you find out, oh, when I was in high school, I used to sneak out of the bedroom and go drink with my friends in the park. Those kind of things. So we're just now finding it. So we're filling in some of the blanks of her childhood now, even my wife and I.
Wow.
But it's great. She's funny. I enjoy
she
her
do?
sense of humor. She's in college.
College.
So she's just going to school. But
here
my-
in town?
No, she's going to Trinity College in Dublin, Ireland.
Wow.
I've been there.
It's nice.
I've been there. There's
Her life is better than my life.
Yeah, I hear
I
you.
mean, at that
That
time. I mean,
sounds
I've,
very
I've, had,
exciting.
I've done some other exciting
Sounds very
things since then.
exciting.
Trinity College is an amazing campus, and they've got these old Bibles on display. Have you seen this?
At the library, yeah.
In the library.
The Book of Kells, everything.
And and then there's also holes in the stone places where it's been shot up, from
North,
the
south.
the terrorism.
Yeah.
So it's like, but there's so much history in that.
1592. That's when it started.
Wow. Yeah. So
It started
that's-
as a religious school.
The school is older than America. Yes, and it started as it was the British, so it was a Protestant school at the beginning, and the Republic of Ireland, which is what most people think of as Ireland. Then there's Northern Ireland. So the Republic of Ireland was predominantly Catholic, but the Trinity started as
Protestant.
as an English school run by the Protestants, but now it's obviously.
why'd you
so-
send her all the way to Ireland?
We didn't send her there. She wanted to go there, and then
Why? Why did you want to go there?
How do you find that place?
Why would you not want to go there? I mean, if I said you could go to college anywhere in America or Trinity College in Dublin, Ireland.
Well, why are those the only choices? Why could I not go?
All the colleges in America or Trinity
anywhere
College
in the
Dublin.
world. Open it up to that. And then you'd say,
Well, it
I
must
don't
have
know
been
about
something
Ireland.
that
First of all, I
attracted her.
would say you want to go to a college where I think you want to go where English is the predominant language.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
And I know you can get free college education for everyone if you go to Croatia, but I'm not sure how many of the classes are conducted in English, and I may be under a misconception. Maybe they all are, but so
They're not.
my
I've been
wife,
there.
my wife is from. Good to know. So my wife is from New Zealand, so she could have gone to New Zealand in college because she's a citizen. My daughter.
Wow.
But the colleges in New Zealand and Australia weren't as obviously they're not as prestigious. I mean, New Zealand has been a country less time than the U.S.
Well, it's new.
Yeah, newish. So
She wanted to go to an antique college.
it's prestigious. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like Harvard, Yale,
Right,
Oxford,
right.
Cambridge,
It's a big-
Trinity College in Dublin. It's
Well,
one of
what's she
those kind of
studying?
colleges. She's studying history and English literature.
They got a lot of history and they got a lot of English literature.
Yeah,
there, so
they're good.
that's-
It's a good place for that.
As Brogan would say, oh, she'll open a bookstore one day.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, I was that type of person when I was younger to make light of a liberal arts education, but now I kind of feel like, look, science, math, engineering, doctoring, lawyering, that kind of stuff is going to get taken over by artificial intelligence. And
It
so
is.
maybe being able to write and think and express creative thoughts is the way
Did
to
she
go.
show,
I mean, it's been good for us, right? We wouldn't be in this bus if it wasn't for those skills.
Thank God we're in this bus.
Yes, exactly.
No, I totally agree.
We've hit the big time.
But I chose something. I don't know. Did you have to choose this? Because I did. I was supposed to do this.
What did you what do you choose?
Stand
what?
up, writing.
You were supposed to do it? I wanted to do it. I don't know that well, I guess now. I mean, I've had an aptitude. It's been good. It worked out for me.
Phenomenal.
I have a
Yeah.
memory that you wanted to be a veterinarian. Is that correct?
I did. Well, I wanted to, when I first went to college, that's what I thought I was going to do. I was very smart with math and science when I was in high school. And so I thought I didn't want to, my best friend went to medical school and I had other friends who wanted to be engineers, but I thought being a veterinarian, that sounded good. I liked animals.
Yeah.
And then I switched to engineering, chemical engineering, and I did that for 2 years and in college, studied that. And then I decided I wanted to do something more creative like writing, so I switched to journalism and then I dropped out.
Well, it's interesting.
Science is
I know you many people say that they were very smart.
Well, I was valedictorian in my high school class.
There you go.
That's all I can
Right.
go by.
Okay,
That's,
I
so,
I wasn't
so that's
that smart.
that's why I would say a thing like that.
I
didn't mean to. I'm not certainly. We're all on the same bus, literally.
We're
Wow.
on a
So-
short bus right
yeah.
now.
You know something? You
yeah.
are an incredibly bright guy, and your comedy showcases that. You know, I was telling you how bright I thought you are.
When
you know,
did you say
Well,
that?
that's
And I was
Very nice.
surprised you weren't wearing. You always wear those
I
intelligent
used to have
glasses.
those glasses that
You
made me
told-
look smart.
You told me that you thought he was smart?
Yeah, I told you those glasses that he wore. I said, he looks just so smart.
I don't
That's
want
not
to.
how I remember it.
We're arguing. We're arguing about how intelligent you are. So stay out
Yeah,
of it,
no,
will
I
you, please?
think you're trying to claim that you thought that, and Danny's saying that maybe you didn't say. Anyway,
No, I'm only teasing Mark. You did say that.
yeah, this isn't
But-
really about me.
But
I'm just here to facilitate
it's
your
like to give him,
relationship.
I like to give him
I'm
a hard
telling you,
time
he's smart, you know.
if he looks to me for backup. I like to make sure that he knows that I'm not there for him. But no, he did.
Yeah.
He did
Let me
say that.
just ask you,
You're going to be a great dad, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He's already. There are different types of smart, because we know people who are very smart but do very stupid things. Like let's say Bill Clinton, highly intelligent
Right.
but did something incredibly stupid.
NAFTA?
Yeah, it could have been that. Could have been that. Could have been that. Yeah. And I'm not singling him out. I
Well,
can't.
that's a sex thing. Yeah, a lot of people do stupid sex things for silly sex reasons. But I feel like everybody, a lot of people have the problem that they didn't get enough.
What was a segment on Letterman, right? Stupid sex tricks.
I don't think that's Letterman. You're thinking of a different
Different channel.
show. Might even be on the internet.
Yeah.
But smart doesn't necessarily denote wisdom, right?
I don't know. Well, yes, I do. I get the difference between knowledge and difference between knowledge and wisdom. Well, I don't know that I'm wise.
Well, I wanted to be a veterinarian also. That's why I remember that. And that was an early ambition of mine. And then I went and worked basically for free at a local veterinarian in Long Island for the summer.
Which means he cleaned poop.
And
I know.
oh, yeah.
I did the same. I did this, not in Long Island, but yeah.
And then I realized, I like the animals closed and awake.
Yeah.
When you're a kid, I love animals. I want to be a veterinarian. But you don't necessarily want to love animals open with their guts and everything out. That's
well, do you want to put your hand in a cow's ass? That's solid. That's a starter question.
You know the
the
Amish joke? What do you call an Amish guy with his arm up a horse's ass? A mechanic.
I was going to say a very talented,
because they don't have the cars.
Yeah, that's right.
I get it.
An ambitious ventriloquist.
Yeah, that's not okay.
So,
what else did you want to be, just for the heck of it? We'll get back to comedy.
Well, then I wanted to be a comedian, and then I thought I wanted to be like a movie star, like Tom Hanks or somebody like that.
I could
Brad
absolutely
Pitt.
see that.
and then you
would've
decided
that
you
would've
didn't
been
want to
fun.
be?
No, I continued to kind of want to be that, but then it kept not happening, or it would start to happen. You'd get an acting job in a movie with some other good actors, and then that particular thing would not be as successful as you hoped, and then you go back and do the road, and then and I did a few pilots. I did one pilot. The last pilot that I did, I thought was very good, and really just hurt my feelings and made me mad when it didn't go. And then I sort of said to myself and to my manager, I've got a job in show business. I'm going on the road doing comedy. I'm just going to focus on doing that, and that's been fun for the. So in a sense, the reason that this is the reason that I'm not a movie star. Maybe is because I decided that I wanted to stop trying to do that. I mean, not that I was going to become a movie star, but the great thing about show business, and I say this to everybody all the time, is you don't get kicked out of show business. You don't get fired. You have to quit. Mm-hmm. And so as long as you don't quit, you're still in it, right?
I made the same decision. I was trying to do sitcoms and get on sitcoms and do this. And one day I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I just decided that it wasn't for me anymore.
Yeah. Well, the driving around, the part when you actually are doing it is got to be super fun.
But the auditioning, sitting. See, as stand-ups, we don't have to do this. I don't have to sit in a room with 30 other comedians hoping to get this job.
Hoping to get on stage and do 5 minutes. You can just sign
when you're
up.
an actor, you go and you sit in this room, and there's other actors, and they all got the same script, and you got to...
Yeah. So before I kind of lost interest in going on acting, like TV, movie auditions, I lost interest in going on commercial auditions, because maybe that's a way you can make some money. You get in a commercial. But eventually it'd be like, I'm going to drive 45 minutes or an hour to Burbank and then be in a room for less than 5 minutes, maybe 2-3 minutes, and then drive back.
Thank you, Jake.
And maybe, and whatever percentage chance of getting the job you got, it's like, I finally felt like I can just go to the corner and get a lottery ticket. Mm-hmm.
So let me tell you, how long do you think I auditioned for commercials for years? Never got one. How long do you
Never? Zero?
Never got one. How long do you think I did this for?
Went on auditions for commercials?
Yeah, and never got one.
I can't tell if I want to guess high or low.
You can guess anything you want.
I'm going to say you did that for 5 years.
Okay.
I'm going to say 15 years.
20 years.
20 years.
20 years. And I don't think that I got more than 3 callbacks. And I cannot understand why these agents kept sending me out, except that they hated me.
No, that's not the case. Well, first
they
of all,
wanted to ruin my life. They knew I was going to get. Let's send him again today because he's not going to get it. He's going to be so. And he never quits. This guy. They wanted to see, and I finally cracked. I couldn't take it anymore.
First of all, you gave it a good shot.
Yes,
right?
I did.
You gave it a good shot. But second of all, to answer your question, I think I know the answer, and that is because they could see your stand-up, and they could see, oh, this guy he's funny, he's got a point of view, the way you look is different
What?
from other people. And do you know what I mean? You're
No, I don't know what you mean.
You're
The way I
you're
look.
not.
What does
You're
he
not.
mean?
not a
You're
great
not.
compliment.
You're not
No,
classically.
smart guys don't talk like that.
You're not classically handsome.
No,
You're
I'm not. You're right.
You're idiosyncratically handsome.
Yes, I am.
And so that's a
I think he
selling
just
point.
called you an idiot.
So all these qualities,
We edit this?
all these
Idiosyncratic.
qualities that you have made them
Right, they thought-
believe that you were going to get one of these jobs.
Steve Middleman, a good friend of mine, did tons of American Express commercials, all these commercials. And the reason they hired him because he had a funny look.
Yeah.
He eventually stopped doing commercials because he couldn't take being that, them calling on him because of the face thing. It didn't seem to, because I think maybe he wanted to be more classically handsome.
Well, of course. I mean, we all want to be. You want to
You're
be.
closer
you
than
wanna
either
be,
one of us, by the way.
Well, that's sweet. But you want to be Cary
Closer than
Grant.
me?
Yes.
Well, this is
I
a
won't
joke.
forget this.
This is a joke from my act, where I go in these auditions, and I basically had two kinds of auditions. Where the first kind of audition is they want a good-looking person, and so you go to an audition, and everyone's better looking than me, and I don't feel like I'm that bad looking. But you look around the room, and it's like underpants models. You want to say these guys,
Yes.
thanks for taking a break from fucking to come down,
Yes.
to the audition. Just like their lives must be unbelievable when they're not there. So I'm never going to take the job from the. If it's we want a handsome guy, I'm not handsome enough for that. I look okay. Or there would be we're looking for a kind of a weird looking guy, and you feel like, well, okay, I can put on some goofy glasses or
Yeah.
misbutton my shirt, but there's a guy in there that looks like a rabbit or a kind of a pencil with a haircut or something, and
Right.
you're you can't take a job from them either. But that's the problem with show business in general is you are what they think you are, and you keep having to be what they think you are, unless you're Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt or George Clooney, where you're so successful that you get to, like, I'm going to put a wig on and do this other thing instead. Charlize Theron gets to do all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yes.
But for the rest of us, it's like you are what they think you are, and so I get it. I get
Yeah.
why Steve would get tired of that.
So I guess for you and me, they thought we were a nothing. And they put
Yeah,
us in
there you go.
nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I had
Well, don't make me say out loud. I mean, you guys
an acting.
you guys are a lot more than nothing. I mean, come on.
Did you study acting?
I took acting classes. I guess I studied it because I
Yeah.
took. I didn't go to college. Of course, you must have friends that went to college to study acting, right? Legit actors, or do you know?
Is that a slam? I
What?
have friends that went to college.
Did you go to college who studied acting? You didn't. Because
I
that's a
actually
whole
did-
other kind of
I
college.
actually
The
didn't
people
go to
who
college.
studied, I studied acting in college.
You didn't
Those
go to
people.
college?
I did not.
Okay.
I went for 2 years, totally worthless, to a business college. Had nothing to do with my life.
What age were you when you started comedy stand up?
18 was when I did my first set. My second set when I was 23.
So,
I stopped
so
for
you
5
so
years.
you stopped in there.
I had such a bad set. I was so traumatized by it. I did not get on stage for 5 years. And then I went and studied acting in New York at HB Studio, Herbert Berghoff and Uta Hagen. I studied jazz dance at a place called Luigi's. I studied improv.
Luigi's Jazz Dance.
Yeah.
It doesn't that
Italian
name.
restaurant.
It sounds great.
He was one of the big jazz teachers in New York at one time.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I retained no dance. I learned nothing from him, even though I went for probably 2 years, and I retained no acting ability from studying for 5
So
years.
you can't jazz dance?
I cannot.
And he put that on his resume when he was applying for this show.
Yeah, how about that?
Are you the person who hired him for this? Because I had it the other way around.
So-
Even though we're in your bus in your yard.
when they ask you those questions on these things, when you go for acting or you go for commercials, they ask what other skills you have.
It's been so long,
But you remember the skill list.
Yep. Well, I put down whatever, a lot of times it would be like, I can ride a bike and I can
Yeah.
roller skate, or, I never,
you-
jazz dancing was ever, if they ever said, can you jazz dance? I might have just said, yeah, I can do that.
Right. So, yeah.
That was never one of the direct,
But you didn't realize when you put down riding a bike and didn't everyone else put that down? It didn't.
I know people who can't ride bikes.
When Mark initially told the story just now of how he auditioned for 15 years
20.
for commercials.
20.
20.
Yeah.
20.
20 years, sorry.
need to pay
That was my
closer
guess.
attention, yeah.
I was making myself correct. When he said 20 years, when he initially told that story of 20 years of commercial auditioning and not one commercial, I was like, okay. But I didn't know at that time that he could jazz dance.
I didn't know it either. Yeah, you really got to have something. There's something wrong if you can jazz dance and you didn't get even one commercial. I blame your agent on that one, actually.
Did you put down other languages you spoke?
I can't speak any other languages.
Wow, that's a very
I had
short
a couple
skill
years
list.
of I had a couple of years of French in high school, but they never asked that.
Never.
Are you kidding? You're not going in for an audition for
Where did you
L.A.
grow
Law,
up?
and they go, just to go back to shows.
Where'd you grow up?
Iowa.
Really?
Well, and Wisconsin. I was born in Iowa. We lived in Wisconsin for most of my childhood. We lived in Tennessee also for 5 years. It's a little bit complicated.
Which one did you like the best?
Well, they're all. We lived in Tennessee from when I was 10 years old to right before I turned 16, and that's where I was really having the most fun. But Wisconsin, the last 2 years of high school were super fun, and then I went back to college in Iowa, and so that's where I lived. I was born there, and that's where I lived for the 5 years before I went to San Francisco.
People really like Iowa. When I meet people from Iowa, they always
It's great. It's a
rave
great place
about
to be
Iowa.
from, and there's a lot of nice people there. The politics of it now, it's so conservative, but so that seems different than what it was like then. But I think
My son went to Wisconsin to see the college there, and he went in the winter, and he decided immediately he's never going to the school. It was so cold, he said.
cold. What college?
I don't even remember.
UW-Madison?
Yeah, it was in Madison, yeah.
Yeah.
He said it was just insane.
What kind of degree did he get?
He got a liberal arts, but
So he can open a bookstore.
he could open a bookstore.
I'm just gonna,
He had his first, he was a, what do they call that? Why am I forgetting? When you can work for free for somebody? you know?
Internship.
Okay. So he found this internship online for Robert Zemeckis, the great film director, right?
Yes.
So it said they were looking for somebody, and he went and applied, and they hired him. He had absolutely, it's okay. He had absolutely no skill at all. They said to him, "What we want you to do is read scripts and give us cover of them. Tell us what you
Yes.
think of them."
Write a summary.
He had never read a script in his life.
Yeah.
He never read hardly anything. He was very bad at reading. And this is the job they gave him. And he would read something that people worked on for 4 years. And I don't like it. And they throw it right in the garbage. It was an amazing, horrible, eye-opening thing that I learned from when he came home and said that's what he did.
Yeah, I've known about that for a while, but yeah, they have the least senior person there
Yeah,
reading.
you would hope that it would be somebody who has some sort of ability or something.
Well, and then oftentimes the scripts that are getting a better kind of look-see are the ones that are by someone who is known for some
Right.
other thing. But the idea that just doesn't seem like a good way to filter them. But who am I? Now we've got Chat GPT, so it can either write scripts or
You got to come to this
read-
funeral I'm doing. I'm telling you, I'm going to be a hit.
It's going to be great.
Hey,
Do you
Chat
think you can get
GPT is going to be a hit.
Can I do a couple of minutes? Do you think if I come to the funeral, do you think I can get on for
Have you ever been to a comedian's memorial?
the last one? I'm trying to think of I went to Dennis Wolfberg's
Yes, I was
years
there.
ago, and he was young, and that
Do you remember
was
when they lowered
really
him in a
sad.
grave? His kids were little. What they said?
No, I don't remember.
It was he had twins, he had twin boys,
Okay.
wonderful kids. They grew up to be absolutely spectacular kids. His wife Jeannie, and they're lowering Dennis, who passed very young.
Funny
And
guy.
yeah, incredible. And as they're lowering him, one of the little twins goes, must have been 5, I don't know. There's my daddy.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
it was just
That's
killer.
That's
Killer.
horrible.
Yeah.
That's,
yeah, it was really
Yeah, that was a rough one.
that hits hard. That one.
yeah. I went to Rodney Dangerfield's, which was extraordinary. I went to who else? Oh my God, I can't remember. Oh boy.
So this Hiram Caston one is here in L.A.
Yes, it's at a synagogue in Hollywood.
Okay.
So,
But he lived in New York, right? He was in New York.
he ended up living in a place called Batavia, which is up in Buffalo, a couple miles outside of Buffalo.
Right. So they must have done something there as well. And now they're
They had a
gonna.
little something. They had the funeral.
So there's
Actually, they
it's
flew
like-
him to New York. They buried him, I think, in New Jersey.
And they
Yeah.
had a ceremony there,
Funeral.
and now they're taking it on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's on tour.
This is a memorial tour.
No, they were just having a memorial. This is where most of his friends ended up.
Here, and that's it. And then there's no more memorials.
It's a one-shot deal.
But it's a 2-shot
It's a
deal.
one-nighter.
Yeah. Wow.
This is
one
a great.
afternoon.
This gives me an idea for it. We could do a tour. We could do
Yeah.
a funeral tour. We
That's-
just do a funeral for.
Well, they did it with the Pope or something when he died. Didn't they travel around the world with him or something? Like,
But was it funny? Our funeral is going to be amusing. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to be a good. It'd be like, remember when they were doing the Tony and Tina's wedding?
I do.
Yeah. So this will be like
do.
that.
That would be fun to do a fake funeral tour, actually, where it's just a very funny funeral.
And the
you take
audience
the
gets
show
to
on the road.
participate. We're all going to have whatever you.
Yeah.
What do you? I
That's
don't know
a good
what you
idea,
eat at
really.
funerals.
Yeah, it is a good
Yeah,
idea.
play about a funeral that goes on the road. Just hysterical.
But you don't really call it a play. It's an interactive experience.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
would
what
you
the
like
the
to
kids
go-
love that now.
Would you like to go to a really funny funeral? We're going to be coming to your town. We go to a different funeral. we just rent out different
I'm
funeral
not sure.
parlors. We sell tickets. We pack
Yeah,
it
this
out.
is the thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the thing. Funeral parlor, it's available at night.
Right.
You kidding me?
Yeah, yeah, you can book it. I once wrote a joke about. I said in Brooklyn, they call funeral homes like 3 weeks in advance for somebody because they know who's coming in 3 weeks in advance. So it's about mafia killing
Right,
people.
right,
I
right.
can't remember the exact joke.
Oh, I see. You make a little appointment. Oh, that,
Yeah.
like, I'm sorry to hear about that
Oh,
fire.
in Brooklyn, I had another version. In Brooklyn, when people buy a car, they tell you how many you can fit in the trunk. So,
Did I ever tell you about my roommate Dom's funeral?
no.
I did. This is a true story, but I wound up doing it on stage because it was such a good story. But it really happened, and I'll just give you the short version of it. But I had a roommate. I was living right behind Carnegie Hall.
How do you get to Carnegie Hall?
It's right. You go around the block.
just
You
go around the
walk
block,
from where
yeah.
he lived. Yeah,
No
practice.
punchline, yeah.
So this guy had a business called the Party Bike, which were
Yeah, I know the party.
Do you
bike.
remember them?
Well, they're all over the place. There's one in Santa Monica, I think.
the big round
Yeah, it's like
bike?
or there's a rectangular one where everybody pedals and there's a guy who steers and drives it.
These he was getting them from Amsterdam. I think it was a new concept.
They got
at
them in
the
New
time.
Orleans where people
Yeah.
are drunk on it and they're pedaling, they're
Okay.
drinking. Yeah.
So there was no drinking. The party was just he would hire comedians. I didn't do it because I was not in good enough shape, but comedian friends of mine would do it. He'd hire a comedian to be the head bike guy, and then it had 8 seats around it, and he'd bike you around Times Square, and it was all cash business, and he had a bunch of these bikes going at the same time, and the guy would be funny and give you a little tour, and you go around. So anyway,
That's the roommate that
that's
died.
the roommate who died. So my friend, who's a comedian, was hired for the party bike because he was dating this guy's niece. And I needed to get out of my apartment really fast. I needed a place. Long story short, he set me up with his girlfriend's uncle. And the guy had this amazing apartment. And he charged me he was paying, I don't know, $5,000-6,000 a month. But he's like, what can you do? What can you pay? I said, well, I pay $1,000 a month at my other place. He says, can you do $1,100? I said, okay. I got this massive room right next to Carnegie Hall and the other behind it, and I'm living with this guy, and he was a real character. Long story short, I move out. I was living there for a while. I move out. We stay friendly. He passes away, and the night before his funeral, he comes to me in a dream, and he says, "Are you coming to my funeral tomorrow?" And I said, I don't know. I'm thinking about it.
I'm working with
the
Len.
night before. It's the
Yeah.
night before. You go
Yeah.
thinking
Tell
about
Well, I
it.
wasn't sure.
So
I wasn't
obviously
sure if I was
you don't
going
have
to
any
go.
plans. Yeah, that's how you roll.
Did you
You
tell me
see a
you were
funeral, you're on a walk in a park. You see a funeral, you
It's
pop
there.
in. Yeah, so we'll
Did you tell
see.
me you're working with Len out there and
Yeah.
you're not sure you can get there?
He says,
I got to go on early.
He
You
says-
just tell
he
him
says
you got to
you
go
have
on
to-
early.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to call her.
so he says, you have to be there. And I need you to do me a favor. And I said, oh, okay. He says, and when you wake up, he says, this is a dream. And when you wake up, you're going to think, oh, that was just a ridiculous dream. And you're going to want to dismiss this favor. But you can't do that. You have to promise me that no matter how ridiculous this feels to you, when you wake up, you got to go through with it. Never had a dream like this before or since.
I love this
So,
story.
so I said,
I didn't think I was going to.
No,
So-
no, it's true.
thanks a lot. I love the vote of
You're a
confidence.
smart guy.
So,
Coming from
No,
a smart guy.
when it started, I like this story. This is a good one.
so he says, I said, so okay, so what is it? He says, I wrote the movie Nacho Libre. Remember that Jack Black
do,
Mexican
sure.
wrestler movie?
I do.
And I never got credit for it. He says, I wrote that script. And I never got credit. He wasn't in Hollywood or anything, this guy. He ran the party bike. But he was a big pranker in life. He always would prank me. And he says, I want you to go around at my funeral and don't make a speech. Just go up to everybody respectfully and just tell them so that they know that I wrote that movie. Can you do that for me? I said, I guess so. And then I woke up.
Wow.
And I said, oh, my God. I guess I got to do this. So I called my friend David Caston, a different Caston, and I told him the situation. I said, I think I'm going to do it. And he said, are you kidding me? That's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. I said, but what if it's real? I said, he told me this is going to sound ridiculous. When you wake up, you're not going to want to do it. I said,
So
I
what'd
would
you
do
do?
it. So he said, I got to see it. Because I wanted him to come there with me so I wouldn't be alone. It's a nerve-wracking thing to do.
So you went to the funeral.
So I went to the funeral.
Didn't make a speech.
And didn't make a speech.
Of course he went to the funeral.
It's in
He
goes
in
to all
Brooklyn.
these
Funerals, right?
Yeah. Well, no, he did. It wasn't. Anyway, let's
Yeah.
just follow
It's
along.
it's in Brooklyn. I don't remember the name of the area in Brooklyn, but it was like a very, very Italian part of Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Bay
And
Ridge.
It wasn't Bay
Sheepshead
Ridge.
Bay.
It wasn't Sheepshead Bay.
Okay.
But it was one of these places where it's like 100% Italian neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I never knew Dom was Italian because he told me he was
Dom.
Jewish.
Dom Herrera?
Didn't know that
No,
Dominic didn't know that Dominic was
Dom.
Italian.
I
Herrera.
thought he was Jewish because he told me he was Jewish, and he told me all about his bar mitzvah and everything. It was just everything with him
All
was
right.
was a prank or a lie. Anyway, I get there. It looks like everybody there in this little chapel looks like the cast of The Sopranos.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really mafia looking bunch of people.
Uh-huh.
And I start going up to them one by one. And I said, hey, I was Dom's roommate. And they go, hey, it's very sad, very sad. I said, he came to me in a dream last night. Oh, yeah? What, okay. I said, he wanted me to tell you that he wrote the movie Nacho Libre. He wrote what? I said it was a movie with Jack Black where he played a Mexican wrestler. And they just,
This part of the story needs work.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you what happened.
Yeah, no,
So
I know.
I go up. Yeah, thank you.
Hurry up.
I go up to it's an open casket, and his mom is there,
Yep.
and she's crying. And I had to tell her. And I told her, I was his roommate, and he came to me in a dream. She goes, my Dom, he came to you in a dream last night. I said, yeah. She goes, what did he say? I said, he said that he wrote the movie Nacho Libre, and he never got credit for it. They go, what did he say? I said, there's a movie where the Mexican wrestler, he said he never got credit for it. So she calls over these two big Italian guys, and they're like, what's the matter, Ma? He goes, he's telling me so. I don't know what Dom said to him. I said, he wrote the movie Nacho. They said, you better leave. I had to escape the funeral. I don't know what was going to happen.
Wow.
But they made it very
I can
clear.
see why you left this other funeral though.
Yeah.
Now that
Now-
I see how you just don't know how to. You don't know how to do a thing.
He doesn't know
Yeah,
funeral decorum.
yeah.
This is a, you should take,
I ran into Jack Black in an airport once, and I told him the story, and he said,
Oh my God.
he said it was. He said people come up to me all the time with stories that are about me or loosely. He said this is the best one I've ever heard.
if
He
you,
said-
if you came to somebody in a dream and told them you wrote a movie, which one would it be?
No, what I would do in the situation you just described
Yeah.
is I would go around and say, did you know that he wrote the movie Nacho Libre and he never got credit? I would just tell him that.
Yeah,
Instead of he came to you in a dream and making it
Yeah,
like
you
a,
make it into a dream thing where it seems crazy. You just go,
Do you
no,
think
he
I
told
should've-
me this.
Yeah, I should have
He
said.
told me. I don't know if it's true or not, but
Yeah.
made me want to see that movie again. That's all you got to say.
You know,
and then
you're right.
you complied with his dream wish.
Yeah.
And you don't get thrown out of the thing.
You're
I mean,
right.
it could have been some delicious Italian food
I
coming.
probably missed out.
pizzaiolo. What movie would you come to me in a dream and tell me you wrote?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'd pick a movie that I liked, I think, if I was going to come to you in a dream. But it's obviously this is not really him. I mean, I feel like he should have picked a
Well, he was a pranker, you know. He was. I felt like this was his final prank on me. That he just got me thrown out of his funeral, and that
and potentially almost beat up by his brothers.
Yeah.
How about you? What movie would you pick?
That I wrote.
Yeah. He gave it to me in a funeral.
The Matrix.
You go with The Matrix?
Sure, just because it's crazy. It's a crazy movie. It'd be impressive if I wrote that.
That would be impressive. The Matrix is a good pick. I probably would go the other way with it. I'd probably pick something that more like what Dom picked, because it's like, you
don't know for sure.
You don't know. Like American Splendor. I love that film. I'd love to take credit for it. I had nothing to do with it, but people don't even know that movie.
She's got to have it.
She's got to have it.
People would be like, I think Spike Lee wrote that. It's like, nope.
That's a good pick.
I would pick Streetcar Named Desire.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
I go, no, Tennessee Williams did not write it.
Yeah,
I wrote
you
that.
Wrote it. Were you even alive when he wrote that?
I was.
How old was?
No, I wasn't. No, of course not. He wrote it in the 40s.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, was Tennessee his actual name? Do you know that?
I started reading a book about him, and I don't recall that, but it had so much homosexuality in it, I could not continue reading this book.
Yeah.
I had to just run to a bathhouse.
Yeah.
That by page 6, I put it down. I go,
You got so
I've got to
excited.
see what all this stuff is about.
Yeah.
And I spent the next 20 years there and did not.
Yeah. And you don't even need to read
Mark
the
likes to do a lot of research on the books.
Yeah.
I'm reading.
At that point, you don't need. Yeah. What does he know that you don't know? At
Yeah,
that point? Nothing.
I told you the Tennessee Williams
You
story.
did, yeah. You've told it on
Very-
the show, but it's a great story. You should tell it, Jake.
So
So many good stories this episode.
This is the only one. I mean,
this is very short, though. This isn't one of his long, winding stories. It was. So I'm at a newspaper stand in New York, and I see Tennessee Williams walking by on, I think it's 2nd Avenue or 3rd.
And you recognized him.
Absolutely. I was a fan of his work, and I'd seen him on TV and interviewed.
Did he have a Colonel Sanders mustache or
He
something?
did, yes,
Yeah.
he did.
Okay.
He had the most- And I see him walk by. I don't know why I do this. I go, hey, 10!
10.
10.
Nice.
He stops dead in his tracks. He figures he's got to know this person.
Right.
And he turns and he sees me. And I go like this. And he was so disgusted that this kid just yells out,
You
hey,
got his. Yeah.
but like, hey, 10, who are you? One of the greatest playwrights that ever lived. You know what I mean? It's like Shakespeare. Shaky! It's like, yeah.
Look, you're the one who wanted. Hey, 10. You wanted to be famous. This is what that's like.
That's what it's all about.
yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
Shaky!
That's why we
Nice
can
bell hat.
we can walk out of the bus, all of us, I think, and I don't mean this as an insult. I mean to just talk about how lucky we can walk out of this bus, busiest street in L.A., probably not get recognized.
Yeah.
We can live our lives. It's not like Tennessee Williams
right.
or one of our other famous friends like Jay Leno. If he came here, this is kind of a mellow neighborhood, but
Right.
people could recognize him when he's out in the street.
Absolutely. He's very, he likes being recognized. He's very good about it.
He's gracious.
He's the most gracious
he's a very
comedian I've ever
likable
seen.
person.
He's so willing to sign autographs and take pictures, and he's just sensational. So before we have one or two other things we're going to do, I want to hear some Letterman stuff, because you do you hold.
Well, I don't know, what can I...
Who's been on more
I've been
than
on the
you?
most times doing stand-up of any comedian.
That's remarkable.
So I did stand-up on there
Remarkable.
46 times.
46 times.
46 times.
Wow.
It's a lot of times.
That's a lot of times.
And I mean, there's other comedians. I mean, Richard Lewis, I'm pretty sure, was on many more times than that, but he would just go
Sit
and
down.
sit.
Yeah. You did all stand up when you went out.
Yeah. And sometimes I'd sit down after, but 46 times doing a set on the show.
It's
That's,
incredible.
maybe if I'd gotten to be a movie star, I wouldn't have gotten. I wouldn't have gotten to do stand up as many times.
You've been on a lot less.
They'd make or they would just have me go sit down and tell some story about something that happened on that Sandra Bullock. What a cut up she is,
Oh, huge.
on the set.
That's
But,
amazing.
I don't have a
46.
story like
Do you
that.
have them all?
I don't think so. I did. I had a video of a lot of them, and I digitized it. But then there's I don't know. There's several that I don't think I have. And then I was interested in digitizing them, and I thought I'm going to post them here or there, someplace, so that they're up. But then you watch them, and it's a long time. I don't know if you had this experience when we were younger stand-ups starting. Our careers are getting going, and you watch guys who you really loved, like you'd listen to Woody Allen comedy routines, and you would feel like, boy, they really, there's a long time before you get to the laugh. And I felt like even watching some of my stand-up from the beginning, the patience of the audience and the way comedy worked then versus now was very different.
And the generation 1 or 2 back from us, they went a long time without a laugh. I would watch them on Ed Sullivan and some of these old tapes, and man, they just
be a long Shaggy Dog story.
Where's this guy going here with this? Yeah, I agree. So
see, my Nacho Libre story would have done great 40 years ago.
In Mexico.
Yeah, I just want to clean up a little bit about what actually happens once you've got to make it come true at the thing. I mean, we're going to have to rework
that.
I feel like it. Yeah, I think we can make it a little bit better.
All right.
So do you feel you got to know Letterman?
No.
No.
I mean, I know that he likes me, or I wouldn't have been on all those times. And if we were at a restaurant and he was sitting over there, I would go over and say hello to him, but I wouldn't. He wouldn't ask me to.
Was
sit
it
down
Robert Morton who was the
Robert Morton was
producer?
Well, he was the segment producer when I first started going on. Barry Sand was the producer, and then Morty took over to be the head guy. And then by the end, it was
Eddie Brill.
No, well, Eddie Brill was the comedian segment producer, but it
Robert. No, it wasn't Robert. He did.
Yeah, I can't believe I can't say his name right now. But anyway, yeah. So, and then Frank Gannon for a while was the segment producer, and then there was another guy who started out as an intern, became the segment producer. Then he went and produced Rosie O'Donnell's show, Daniel Kellison.
Did you get nervous doing the Letterman shows?
I'd get excited about it. I mean, not nervous like, oh no, what's...
How'd you work out a shot? I mean, did you, when I did my shots, I would do it 50, 100 times.
Yeah, I would kind of have an idea of what I wanted to do on the show, and then, it'd be roughly, for the beginning years, some of those I was on 2-3 times in a year, and so it's hard for me to remember how that worked. But afterwards, then it would be, you're going to be on in a year, so you start thinking about what you might do a few months before, you're going to get the date, and then I'd move that material to the front of my act. So I'm going on stage in Des Moines or St. Louis. Or
did you have to run it in front of the producers?
They trusted me pretty much, so I would get the set ready, they would book the date, then usually I would fly to New York. They would see it at Catch. Sometimes they'd have some notes about switching things around, the order of things a little bit, and then I would do it the next night.
Did they fly you first class?
Business. Yep.
That's good.
Yeah. And then towards then kind of in the time of for the last 10 years of it, they would want me to type it out. They would want you to type out your set so that they would run it by legal.
Wow.
So in all those times, you never got to know Letterman, is what you said. But
well, I knew him well enough to say hello, and then his production, Rob Burnett, that's the name of the guy.
Right.
So Rob Burnett was running Worldwide Pants, and this was before Ray Romano's show, and there was some talk about them maybe developing something for me through Worldwide Pants, but that never kind of came to fruition. But that wasn't me talking to Dave. That was me talking to Rob after he had talked to Dave.
But you never said to Dave in 46 times, why don't we get a dinner or something?
No, he would say that if that was going to... I know Wayne Cotter got invited to go up to the offices and maybe got to sit in, go have a conversation with Dave in his office or something like that, but that never happened to me. I didn't have that. I just say hello. Sometimes he would come over after the set. You'd do your set and he'd come over and shake your hand, stand next to you, and then throw it to commercial. And so then sometimes we'd have a little bit of a conversation. And my daughter was born within a year or so of when his son was born. So we would talk about, we had kids kind of the same age, and we'd talk about that, and I'd bring a picture of my daughter to show to him as like, and he was sweet about that. And so sometimes we'd have a little conversation about that.
Were those the real pictures you would show him?
Real pictures of my genuine child.
You had to go in the jacket. And
one time she was wearing a helmet or something, and he asked about that because we'd gone to Costa Rica, and we went zip lining. So she was in the zip lining, and he was asking about zip lining because he thought his son would like zip lining. So little tidbits like that.
Did you zip line?
But no, I did zip line.
Costa Rica?
Yeah, I zip lined.
You ever see him on the street and yell, "Hey, Let"? Never happened.
Hey, D.
No, never happened. I don't know if Dave, do you think he was on this? He was so known that he couldn't have walked around New York City. I mean, I think he came right out of the Ed Sullivan Theater or
In a
NBC
car.
at the time, got out into a car, went somewhere. Maybe he got out of the car, went in, probably had parking for.
He's not the
wherever he
type of
lived.
guy to like the big crowd around him approaching him.
No, I don't think he enjoyed his fame as much as Jay does.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow. Wow. Wow.
Jake, you want to plug anything?
Well, I've got show. You know, I was supposed to go to Tulsa, Oklahoma next week, but that's not going to happen because the club lost their liquor license. This is where we're at in show business now. So I don't know where I am coming up in the future, but I do think I'm coming to Kingman, Arizona in September. I do think that I've got a gig in Portland, Maine, and one in Massachusetts somewhere, and then another thing in the Detroit area and Palm Springs. That's all coming up in September. It's not on my website yet, but I'm going to put it on my website, jakethis.com. That's where you can go, or it's all social media. Or I find it hard to believe that anyone is really still leaving their house anymore, considering the high quality of entertainment like this that's available.
And
Yeah,
the
it's
buses that
amazing.
people have in their own backyards.
Yeah.
So your website is?
jakethis.com.
jakethis.com, and you can find all Jake's dates over there. And Mark?
So my book, Why Not? Lessons on Comedy, Courage, and Chutzpah, and my Instagram and my website, markshift.com. And I'm going to Africa on a safari.
That sounds awesome. I want to hear about that. Not right now because
Yeah.
we're busy. I know
Yeah.
you got to go to a
Right, right.
funeral.
I will tell you
but-
about it.
yeah.
I'll let you know I'm going on a safari for 3 weeks.
I've got comic books about my life at fairenoughcomic.com and 2 albums available at standuprecords.com. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in to We Think It's Funny. Hope you found it funny as well. We'll be back with another episode next week. Tell your friends about the show. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're on YouTube. We're on
Spotify.
Apple Podcasts. We got a great review today on Apple Podcasts. And if you could put some of those up, it really helps.
I was going to say people should review it. You should get people to positively and subscribe.
Yes,
Subscribe, right? Am
Yes.
I right about this? I think I'm right.
you're right.
And we have mugs for sale.
We have mugs for
Get
sale.
out of here.
Yeah. In fact, I'm going to owe you a mug because we just ran out, and that's what it looks like. But I'm going to get a mug to you.
Oh, I love that. And it's got a QR code on the back.
Yes, it
You
does.
scan that, it takes you to the show.
Yeah, and all your credit card information goes right to the Russian mafia.
All right.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. See you next time. Bye.